we fucked up in Afghanistan. Like, we left that place in shambles. And now there's a power vacuum. The Taliban stepped in. They're partnering with China. Rare earth minerals are coming out of Afghanistan. That place is a mess, right? Total disaster. Syria, total disaster. We were active in both places, right? So
proxy active in Syria, not necessarily.
We learned.
I don't like that nod. I didn't like that nod at all. You're just like, yeah.
Yeah, we learned in Afghanistan that interstate war, which is when you invade another country, is expensive and not always successful in the end.
Yeah, we've learned that in a few of them, for sure. For sure. I mean, I think we've already talked about Afghanistan, I think, on this show. Maybe it was with Concrete, too, when we did the crossover, but I don't want to go to that right now. The other one outside of Iran, though, that's been coming up sporadically a little bit throughout the conversation, though, is the one that's not like the others over there, which is Israel. You have all these Khaliji culture places, Islamic-backed type places, then you have Israel, which is the Jewish state. They're in the middle of a bunch of countries that, for a long time, it was like all these countries hated them for who they were, and now they've cultivated friendships. You know, it started with Egypt back in, what was that, 80 or 79 or something? And then some of the other, like, they have a good relationship with Jordan, and they're very, you hear about them a lot because they have the total survival instinct there. I mean, let's call it what it is. We're less than 80 years out from, like, all the ancestors of these people, including some of them who are still alive, were attempted to be exterminated. So they have a worldview and an understanding of, like, survival and worry about me that few other places around the world have. And I always take that into account with how they operate. But, you know, it seems like Mossad and their intelligence arm is the most impressive one that I've heard in the world, just with the shit they're able to pull off. How much of the things we're seeing in the Middle East, be it with more friendly countries like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, for sure, in this question I'm asking, like, how much of that do you think is driven by Israel's success in leverage from an intelligence perspective and being able to formulate places not hating them over there, and that also is like kind of an extension of our interests here?
So I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, Israel's a very advanced intelligence infrastructure for sure, but I wouldn't necessarily say that their increase in diplomatic clout is a reflection of their intelligence service. I think it's more just a representation of their advanced diplomatic clout. So a lot of what you see Mossad do around the world is partner with other services, other intelligence services, over common enemies like Iran.
Yes.
Right? So that's where most of their work is. They don't put they don't put a great deal of effort into trying to create covert influence campaigns that win support for the Jewish plight. That's not really what they do. They don't really need to, because they have statesmen and politicians who are very effective at that on their own, right? And let's not forget that that Israel is a very close partner to the United States. So the United States also wants to see Israel win friendships with other strategic allies in the region, especially in the world that we've seen for the last 5 to 7 years, and for the world that we're going to continue to see for the next 10 to 20 years, where people have to pick sides. Whether they pick sides like with true loyalty, or whether they just pick sides out of convenience, we don't really know. So I think that's a lot of what you see going on in Israel. Israel's a fantastic example of how scrappy and resourceful a country can be when it really is facing an existential threat.
So fresh on me. Freedom.